With you here on the Newzroom PM. This week, the chairperson of the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Migration, Milkor, announced that the government intends to spend 10 billion rands on modernizing South Africa's border infrastructure. This is in an effort to secure border and shore up the management of migration amid concerns about cross-border crime and illegal immigration. Well, let's speak to Daniel Plessis. He's the Vice President of defense firm Milkor in Africa, and he's, of course, here to share his thoughts on where should South Africa actually be focusing their budget. Daniel, good to have you, and thank you so much for your time. I mean, given the proposed 10 billion budget over 3 years, what percentage immediately comes to your mind that ideally should be allocated to physical infrastructure, fencing, outposts? These are things that we ordinary South Africans think should be put in place, as opposed to, of course, high-tech electronic surveillance to achieve optimum operational efficiency.
Thank you so much for having me. I think one of the welcome ideas is that the government is taking border security serious for the first time in a few decades, actually. The border line along South Africa, spanning more than 4,000 kilometers, has been deteriorating for the past few years, and significant investment is needed to upgrade, like you mentioned correctly, the infrastructure. I think the initial plan with this 10 billion rand is to firstly tackle the infrastructure upgrades required. Whether that will be fencing, we're not sure. I think a lot of it will be addressed towards specific border posts and border outposts, to increase the surveillance capabilities and housing capabilities needed to station the border officers primarily. Then obviously the focus will shift towards increasing modern technologies and including day-to-day activities with automated systems to increase overall surveillance capabilities of the border as well.
Yeah, and when we speak about that 10 billion, I mean, does it begin to touch sides? And if it is indeed something that South Africans want to see immediate improvement, I mean, that's without question. They want to see immediately that the borders are no longer porous. So where would a bulk of that money have to go?
I think primarily the border infrastructure is deteriorated to such a degree that a 10 billion rand investment is a good start, but definitely not enough to include the entire scope of work required to address the porous border continuity issues. I think a lot of it should also be addressed towards modern technology. The quickest way to patrol the border and survey a border is using aerial surveillance, for example. It covers significant ground. You can have recurring passers-by, essentially, covering and picking up different patterns of livestock, people, vehicles, and these kind of things to determine the patterns used by illegal crossings and undocumented nationals. Yes, I think it's a welcome investment of 10 billion rand, but it's definitely not enough to address the full picture. Along with that, a lot of South Africans have cried out for increased fencing, and fencing alone doesn't necessarily address the issue by itself. Modern technology is definitely required as well.
Yeah. So some people might raise the issue of, okay, let's go high-tech, but going high-tech carries significant long-term operational costs. So how do we get around that, considering our financial constraints in the country?
So technology has moved a lot since the past. I mean, high-tech today, we're using high-tech technologies on a commercial basis and a civilian basis for quite some time now. Yeah. And the improvement, you mentioned the operational cost. Yes, South Africa has significant budget constraints, and border security is becoming more and more of a prevalent matter with the seventh party sitting now, or seventh government sitting now. So how you address that is essentially by introducing modern technologies augmented by things like artificial intelligence, facial recognition, and pattern recognition. These can include aerial surveillance footage like the Milkor 380, surveillance UAV, for example, locally manufactured by our company. But there's a multitude of sensors and sensing capabilities that are available within the aerospace, defense, and some commercial security companies as well in South Africa. So these technologies exist, and the operational costs are not as high as, for example, we would see a lot of the economic loss seen when cross-border movement activities are not regulated properly as well.
Yeah. So I mean, you've answered the next question for me. So these resources and products can be sourced locally, you say?
That's the primary thing. I think we just came hot off ministerial lekgotla for the defense industry as a whole. And through that, we saw that there's a multitude of defense and industrialization capabilities still residing within South Africa. And these are applicable, yes, to the defense and the SANDF primarily, but definitely also to additional security clusters like the BMA and the Department of Home Affairs to address some of the main concerns. These don't just span across land borders. South Africa is seeing a significant increase in maritime traffic around the southern tip of Africa, which proposes a huge risk for additional illegal activities to take place as well. And we have very deteriorated infrastructure when it comes to maritime surveillance as well. So the Milkor 380, for example, also has significant land and maritime applications and sensing capabilities. And as I correctly mentioned, these type of platforms are supported by a defense and commercial industry that is driving high-tech technologies and supporting them on a global scale.
So you're saying for South Africans, I mean, when they hear, politicians will speak and say, we're spending 10 billion rands and we've got companies that will bring these capabilities, right? What is it that should we be looking at as ordinary South Africans in terms of those capabilities, considering the vastness of the borderline, the complexity of maritime and so forth inland? What capabilities should these technologies actually have?
One of the primary things we should look at is, as you mentioned, an upgrade to the infrastructure at the moment. I had the privilege of earlier this year also patrolling the borders with some project that we are doing also for border patrol and border enhancement activities with multiple entities as well. And the state of the borders are significantly deteriorated. It's actually quite concerning and quite alarming. Yeah. And to a large extent, a lot of the officers that are involved in that are doing the best they can with what they have available. So equipping them, yes, with the right infrastructure to prevent and deter people from moving across borders is the primary step, definitely. But the second alternative and the second addition to that should be the implementation of, for example, electro-optical systems, surveillance systems. These can be based at border outposts that are used with facial detection and facial recognition, the so-called electronic border management or surveillance system, and then augmented by additional systems such as vehicles and aerial surveillance capabilities like the Milkor 380 as well.
So are these, I mean, strategies in your experience, in your research and having been in this space that are implemented elsewhere in the world that South Africa has not actually implemented up till this point?
I mean, the technologies exist globally, and South Africa's defense industry is thriving at the moment in terms of export sales to different countries as well, for specifically this reason. Yeah. I think a lot of the technologies we develop as South Africans are being exported globally and implemented to a very large degree of success. Porous borders is not an uncommon issue around the African continent, but a lot of countries have actually addressed these porous borders issues with implementation of new technology first, and then slowly but surely building up the infrastructure. Infrastructure upgrades along 4,000 kilometers take a significant amount of time and investment. So while you are gearing up and preventing the physical movement of people and livestock and things like that across the border illegally, it's very good to implement radicalized technologies that can do. And the BMA has done some pilot projects with this as well. They've worked with some defense companies in introducing some new technologies and trialing them at the border specifically. But I think they're limited to what they have available in funding as well, and the aerial and drone capabilities that they've deployed up to date is good for close-quarter surveillance capabilities around border outposts and very high-risk areas like Bait Bridge, for example. But you need to invest as a country if you're taking border security seriously, and with 53,000 undocumented foreign nationals repatriated as well. The government is obviously seeing the border issues as a real concern. So therefore, if it is a real concern, you need to look at how do you fund this and invest into the proper technologies that will solve it over long term, not just in a short-term basis as well.
Now, you speak of the BMA. I mean, when we were introduced to the BMA, they say this is a one-stop shop type of situation where you can have SARS there, you can have defense there, you can have the police there, you can have immigration there, and they're able to all come together and be able to be able to process and deal with this matter. Is that the correct kind of approach, that one-stop shop, or do you see a situation where other members of state must also get involved?
So the BMA, as in its establishment, is still in its infancy. It was introduced in 2023, and it is the correct approach. The Commissioner, Dr. Masiapato, has presented on numerous occasions at border management conferences as well on the roles and responsibility, and it spans much further than general South Africans understand. We do not have a full understanding. So the amount of work that the BMA eventually is responsible for, from importation of meat products and livestock movements, and then also, as we see it then in general, crossings and illegal crossings and monitoring of the borders itself. The approach of having multiple different entities integrated into the BMA as a self-sustaining one-stop shop is the correct approach. And the recent addition and recurring theme that the Minister is presenting, that the BMA will now employ its own officers and train them, rather than accepting that the SAPS, for example, will deploy additional members, is a welcome thing, because they can be properly trained and deployed for their specialist skills. However, the BMA on its own will not function. At the moment, the capacity is not strong enough to cater for the entire landscape of land and maritime borders. So they will rely on entities that are existing, including the existing customs systems at airports, for example, the SANDF and its deployment of border operations soldiers and officers as well, which is proving tremendous value in terms of illegal car vehicle thefts and things like that, crossing over the border as well.
Daniel, appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming on. That's Daniel du Plessis there. He is the Vice President at Milkor, of course, talking to us about the type of investment that we need to be making to our border infrastructure. When we continue next, Dr. Olisile Ngumbela is a senior lecturer at CUT, Department of Government Management Faculty. Talks to us, of course, about the 13th anniversary rally of the Economic Freedom Fighters and their 2026 local government election manifesto launch. Do stay with us.